April TBR books. So I read all the books that I had listed in my April TBR video, excluding Artemis by Andy Weir, because I was focused on reading my physical books and the library checkout expired, so it was returned. And so now that I have time, I have been wanting to reread a all-time favorite book of mine that I read I was thinking like more than 10 years ago. Let me see if I put the year in it. No. But I know I definitely read it in high school. I want to say like 9th or 10th grade. And so over 10 years ago. And it is A Dirty Job by Christopher Moore. And it was the first book I ever read by Christopher Moore. And I immediately fell in love with his work and read more books by him. And so I have time. And I'm so excited to reread this. I am thinking of doing tabs this go around since I didn't do that the first time I read it. And so I'm going to see if I can find my tabs because I haven't seen them in a while and I just don't know where they could be. So I decided I would just go ahead and make a vlog about how I'm rereading one of my all-time favorites from when I was in high school to see if I still like it. And oddly enough, I read a lot more adult when I was in high school than young adult. And so this is an adult book. And it's just amazing. If you don't know, this is about a guy named Charlie Asher who is completely normal, but his wife becomes pregnant, and shortly after they have their daughter, she passes away. And so Charlie becomes completely paranoid and just aware of his surroundings and like tries to protect his daughter more than anything else. And so while that's going on, he ends up actually becoming a reaper. And in this book, there are multiple reapers. So he is not the reaper, he is a reaper. And he is and then there's also like a darkness going around that he is trying to, I don't remember if it's like he's trying to figure out what it is or prevent it from doing something. It's been so long. I just remember loving this and thinking it was hilarious, but also just such a good story. And so I'm super psyched to finally reread it. I mean, one of my favorite books. Okay, so I'm gonna see if I can find my tabs, and if I can, I will tab it. And I'm sorry, she's screaming. I don't know what she's screaming about. Probably because she's trapped in her playpen. Anyways, I will keep you updated. First page, and I'm already like super happy that I am rereading this because the very first sentence is Charlie Asher walked the earth like an ant walks on the surface of water, as if the slightest misstep might send him plummeting through the surface to be sucked to the depths below. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think that's just really good writing, and one of the reasons I love Christopher Moore. Okay, so it's the next morning. I started a dirty job yesterday, and it's still as funny as I remember it being. I do not regret rereading it right now. I'm super excited to be reliving this journey. And I'm on page 103. There's 384 pages. And so there's, I think, 3 parts to the book, and I'm in part 2. And I'm just really enjoying it. So there's a few things that have already happened. Like, in the first few pages, Charlie's paranoid about his daughter, and he's asking the nurse, well, how many fingers does she have? How many toes does she have? Does she have a tail? And it's just like the funniest thing ever. And his wife, like, basically kicks him out of the hospital room because he's driving her crazy. And so he realizes when he's in the car that he forgot her CD. So he goes to take back the CD, and there's somebody standing in her room, and nobody sees this guy. He's not on security cameras, nothing. And then all of a sudden he's gone. And so his wife passes. And so the doctors say it's something like I don't know how to pronounce it, but some kind of rupture or something that happens and causes her to die. And so he's mourning his wife. He's going through all these things. And his sister is a hilarious character, and I love her because she just picks at him and or picks on him, and it's just so funny, like all the scenes with the sister. And Charlie, main character, he lives in a thrift store. Well, not in a thrift store. So his parents used to own a building, and on the first floor was a thrift store that his dad ran. And so he lives above that, and because there's apartments. So he also owns the apartment building, and there's other tenants there. And so now he's seeing things that are glowing red. And these things that are glowing red, I don't want to give too much away, but it has to do with him being deaf. And so now I'm at the part where he's slowly starting to figure things out, because he was supposed to receive a book, the Book of Death, and one of his employees got it in the mail at the store and thought it was way too awesome for him, and so she kept it. So he's like trying to navigate this whole being deaf thing, unaware of the fact that he is deaf. Like, he just knows all these weird things are happening around him. And so I'm at the part where he just found out that he is deaf, and he is like finding more and more out. And I'm just so glad that I decided to reread this, because it's been over 10 years. I remember being absolutely in love with this book and thinking it was so funny. And just, he is such, the main character, Charlie, is just, he is so funny. Like, he's just so neurotic and like paranoid and just like crazy, but it's hilarious. Like, it just works. And so I don't know, I love it. I'm super excited. I really do enjoy Christopher Moore books. I haven't read all of his books, but I've read at least 5. And this was the first one, and it's still my favorite. So anyways, I will keep you updated. Like I said, I'm on page 103. There's 384 pages. This is day 2 of reading it. So I'm hoping that I will get further along today and finish it in the next day or so. So excited. Excuse the face. I really needed this. So I am done with part 2 of A Dirty Job. And at this point, Charlie has found out more about what is going on. So he talks to a guy, Minty Fresh, which is the guy that was in his wife's hospital room when she passed. And so he ends up finding him and talking to him. And Minty Fresh gives him more information about what they are, and he calls them all death merchants because they aren't actually death. Like, they don't kill people. And they just collect souls of people who die, and so these souls are transferred into items that belong to them, that they have a connection to. And so Charlie's job is basically just to collect those, although he is thinking that he is more of an actual like death, not just a death merchant. He thinks he's different because the first few deaths that he encountered, he felt like he had caused them, like something that he did to actually cause them. And so he was convinced, or he is convinced, that he's more than just a death merchant like Minty Fresh. That's like he's not just there to collect souls, like he does more. And some things are going on with his daughter, and I don't want to give too much away, but there are things going on with her. And right now we're at part 3, and just a couple of chapters ago, he had gone out of town. I don't want to say why, but he went out of town, and when he came back, soul vessels were overdue. And so when he does not get the souls, or if he talks to other people about what he does, like a darkness rises and like weird things start happening. And so since he missed a couple of souls, he's been talking to people about what he does. Not just people, but like other death merchants. There's like a huge darkness rising and weird things are happening. I mean, like really crazy things. And so that's where I'm at now in part 3. I just started, and I'm going to continue and then keep you updated. There's just so much coming back to my memory that's so funny. Like when you read a book and then wait 10 years, more than 10 years to read it again, it's just crazy how much you really forget about the book. And so, I don't know, it's cool rereading it and realizing like, oh, well, yeah, I forgot about that. No, I completely forgot about that. So, I don't know, like, this is the first time I've reread a book, like, in that long, so it's pretty cool. It is 6 in the morning, finished A Dirty Dog. It's just a good story. It's a good plot. Christopher Moore's writing is just clever and funny, and like, the only thing I will say is that while in high school, I did not care about the sexual references or some of the vulgar parts that happen. Like, there's a few instances that it's like, whoa, too much. My reading taste has changed. I don't read a lot of books with a lot of foul language or sexual references. I don't mind it, but I don't go out of my way to look for it. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I gave the book 5 stars. It's still that high to me, but I'm gonna do 4 stars just because the sexual references and the few scenes that are like a little vulgar, like a little too vulgar for me. Overall, it's still an amazing book, and he's still an amazing author. So he's an adult author. He writes a lot of I don't know, I guess you could say horror, comedy? I don't know. But it's so good. Like, I really hope more people read his work. I do plan on finally reading Secondhand Souls, which is the sequel to A Dirty Job. And I forget when it came out, but it did not come out soon after A Dirty Job because I waited and waited and waited. And I was like, well, I guess it's just going to be a standalone. But no, eventually he came out with a sequel called Secondhand Souls. Yeah, I guess that's it. I'm so pumped and happy and excited to have added that to my TBR and to have actually read it. I've been wanting to reread it for such a long time, and I'm super happy.